every man is created in the image of God, in His likeness. Thus, we're all on the same playing field. There is no race that's superior to anyone else. There is no person that's superior to anyone else. We are all on the same playing field. This means that we're created in the image of God. It doesn't mean that God has created little demigods, but it means He's created us like Him, after His likeness, more specifically as His mirrors or as His representatives. We're the only beings that God created that really have this capacity to think and reason and love and all of these things, but God has created us in His image. Profound implications. C.S. Lewis once said, I quote these guys because they say stuff a lot better than I do, and if I just try to say what they're saying, I'd make it sound stupid. So, Lewis, talking about this, once said this: there are no ordinary people. You've never talked to a mere mortal. Nations, cultures, arts, civilizations, these are mortal, and their life is to ours as the life of a gnat. But it is immortals whom we joke with, work with, marry, snub, and exploit. Immortals who will eventually live in eternal horrors or everlasting splendors. Lewis is right. There is inherent dignity in each of us because we are all created in the image of God, after His likeness, as His representatives, as mirrors of Him. We're created to mirror His glory in the way that we live, in the way that we're created. We are eternal beings. He says, you've never talked to a mere mortal. Isn't that crazy to think about? You've never talked to someone that is existing now and then someday will not exist. But He makes sure we understand everyone that you have ever talked to, everyone that you know, everyone that's ever been created is an eternal being. Everyone will either be in eternal horrors or everlasting splendor. We've never talked to just a normal person. But being made in God's image reaches further than that. And what we're specifically looking at today, and what I want you to grab and see, it tells us how we're made. And just as God exists in community, we who bear His image are built for community. This is why the very first thing that God says is, it is not good that man should be alone. So creates a helper for them. And He tells them to be fruitful and multiply. Genesis 2:14 again. The Lord God said, it's not good that man should be alone. Genesis 2:18. Man discovered this, honestly, kind of early on. And that's why, to this day, isolation and punishment, or isolation is a form of punishment and torture. You mess up in prison, we've all seen movies. I don't think any of us have really been in the big house, but we've seen in movies that when you mess up, you get isolation. You get put in the box or whatever for weeks and weeks at a time. We've known, and mankind, outside of saying this is how God is created, but we know that isolation, depriving people from social interaction of any kind, we know that we can use that as an instrument of torture and punishment. Hear me. Community is far more than a good idea. It's what you're built for. It's how God has created you to be. We're built to know and be known, to love and be loved, to dance with God and with others.